All right, well, thanks everybody for attending. This is part 6 in our GeoSync GO Management webinar series, and we are going to focus in on the dashboard with custom reports. We already did an overview of the dashboard in an earlier webinar, but we're going to just focus in on custom reports, which is a pretty powerful feature in GeoSync GO, the ability to kind of customize the report or the view that you for information that's important to you. The cloud service, GeoSync GO Cloud Service, is a geospatial toolbox, and we need to think about it that way. And the dashboard is one of the tools that's available, including the custom reports that we're going to look at. You access the dashboard from the desktop software, and the dashboard is really an entry point for database tools for management, tracking, and reporting. So some of the other management pieces we've been through, there's a list of those, and of course we're going to focus still on today on the dashboard, which is for tabular viewing and reporting. You access the dashboard from the desktop software, and you have to be signed in as a GeoSync GO manager in order to be able to access and create reports. There's a button on the main toolbar that will launch the dashboard. It's also important to know that since the dashboard is connected to is a view into your database, it's important to be aware, make sure you're connected to the correct database for your workflows. This is a shot of what the dashboard looks like. It's titled SQL Dashboard, which is SQL is a reference to the type of database that we use in GeoSync GO, but it is a view into your database and access to all of the GeoSync GO workflow information. Dashboard is the software interface. It is one of the tools that's in our toolbox. It's focused in on viewing and reporting. Custom reports is one of the features associated with the dashboard, and that's what we're gonna take a look at right now. But you can also do exporting. You can do some of the some editing from here, and there is the ability to do some querying on the fly, database querying for customizing your reports. So where does the dashboard fit? It is a view of your database. It's a view into the workflow database, so its purpose is really to be able to pull information out from your workflows and be able to present that in a way that you can use it for reporting and analysis and just and information lookup. So here are just some basics in terms of creating a user report, and we're gonna actually do this, but we'll run through this. From the dashboard to create a user report, you right-click on the default user report and click the option Add Report, and then from there you customize. You have three options, three combo boxes, your three boxes you need to fill out, which is you need to identify what is the view or the custom selection information that you're going to use. You need to give a description to this particular custom report, and then you need to assign what group it's going to fall in. Those are the three things in order to add a user report or a custom report. Custom reports are primarily database selection statements, and they use SQL, which is called structured query language. That can be a little bit intimidating, but if you follow some of the templates that we have, there's a whole lot that you can do without having to really know structured query language very deep. The more you know about structured query language, then the more capability you're going to have for building more advanced or sophisticated custom reports. But if you Google SQL for beginners, you begin to get some easy references to this particular structured query language and how to use it. I have a couple examples here at the bottom, which we'll look at. These are the standard examples of how you would set up a custom report. And we'll run through this. This select star from what's in, and then in the select star from report traffic signals. This statement that we see here is going to say I'm going to select all of the columns from my traffic signals workflow, and I'm going to use the REP stands for report. So this is the built-in traffic signals report. I'm going to use the built-in GeoSync Go report, and I'm going to select everything from that and display it. The second statement is a little different because it says I'm going to use this intersect die, which is a short, this is the name of my column, and this column is cut off, but it may have come from an ArcGIS shapefile. It probably represents intersection, but the name of the column, this is the name of the intersection column. The name of the communication method for the traffic signals is COM method. Back up here. And then again, we're going to select from our report traffic signals. So this example says I'm going to do a report that's going to have two columns. It's going to have the intersection communication method, and I'm going to get that from my traffic signals workflow. The third example, in terms of formatting a custom report, in this case is we're going to do we're going to add a where clause. So we want to filter this. We're going to select everything from traffic signals, and we're going to only do that where the communication method is equal to fiber. Now, once you see these examples, if you just plug in a different workflow name, or you plug in the columns associated with your workflow, then by just modifying these statements, you can create a lot of fairly sophisticated user reports that can be useful and helpful to you. Now, we're going to look at a demo which is managing traffic signals. The idea is we have all the traffic signals for our community, and we're managing those based on location. Every so often we're doing some kind of inspection, but we need to have a full inventory of those traffic signals. So let's take a look at how we might use custom reports to help us in managing that information. At this point, we're going to come back. We're in the GeoSync Go desktop, and we have a map, and what's on the screen is all of the traffic signals. This is all in Fayette County, Lex. There's approximately 378 traffic signals. We can see these have been mapped and inventoried. But what I want to be able to dig in or view into this data in order to be able to have some standard reports that could help me in my day-to-day work. So the way we do this, we can open the dashboard up from this button. If we select that, that would open the dashboard. And so let's take a little tour of what we have in terms of the standard report. So when you open the dashboard, on the left side, you have workflow reports, and these are standard for every single workflow that's been created. And if we look at these are some of the standard, our feature records. In this case, I can open up and I can see all of the traffic signals that are included in my workflow database. So I have a full view of that in here, and I can do some interesting things with that. I can do some searching and exporting from here. The other piece I could do is an option here called New Features, and in New Features, what's different about this actually puts a date column based on when the feature was created into my system. So if I were out inventorying or mapping those features and I bring those in, then this record date is going to be the date of creation for that, and it will obey these dates that are at the top. So this is a way from new features that I can come in and actually sort those based on when they were created or when they were mapped and added into my system. But, so these are standard reports that we have, but what we're interested in today is user reports, and these would be custom reports. I've already created a number of custom reports for my traffic signals. We're going to just kind of review what's in here, and then we're going to go through and actually create at least some or all of these and go through the process on how we set these up. So in the traffic signals, first and foremost is I have all traffic signals. So this is just a replay of my workflow features, but in this case, I've added a custom report and given it another name called all traffic signals, and I have access to all of those. The next thing I come down to is I have a custom report called Man of War Signals. And in this case, I've filtered the signals so that my intersection, I wanted a list immediately I can get to of all traffic signals that are on Man of War Boulevard. And there's 41 of those signals, and I can get to those immediately, and I can go through and look at that information. The next report I have is signal count by communication method. This is a summary report, which will give you an idea of some of the power in this. Is I wanted to be able to summarize all of the traffic signals based on the communication method that's in use. So I have a report immediately. I can look and see I've got fiber, phone line, radio, the different types of communication, and I can see how many signals match up to those different types. The next piece to this is the next type of search is signals by last inspection. In this case, this is a report, and you'll notice that there's a record date at the very front of this. That creates something special. If the report has a record date column on the first column, then these date options will become available. And record date here is based on when was the last time I inspected these particular traffic signals. So from March, if I looked at during March, we go forward here and look at March. So March 1 to March 23, there's no records have been, no signals were inspected. If I back this up, let's say to January, then there's been 80 inspections done between January 1st and March 23rd. So this is a fairly powerful type of custom report that can be set up, which would allow me to look at different ranges of dates based on activities that might be taking place. This is another report, signals using fiber. So I filtered the signal list based on only wanted the ones that actually had a communication method of fiber, only a communication method for phone, and a communication method for radio. So this is a library of reports. I might want to have additional reports, such as I may want to filter that on other roads or other types of summary reports in place. So let's go through and see if we can reconstruct these reports and build another list of those. I guess before we do that, let me give you another little piece of information that can be helpful. If you want to see, as an example, Man of War signals, if you want to see what is the custom statement, the SQL statement that's used for that, you can go to View Current SQL, and that will give you a list, basically will tell you what statement is in place. This can be really helpful because you can review what's there, and then this can be edited and modified to create a new report or to change the existing report in some way. So we have this is the report that's set up for Man of War signals, and so let's go through and create these, duplicate these reports. So the way we would do that is we right click and add report, and we're going to do a new report. And the first thing we're going to do is I want to have all traffic signals. And the way we would do that is, this one's pretty easy because I can just come down and find my standard reports. I have report traffic signals. This is a built-in report. I select that report, and that's going to provide all the traffic signals that I have. Give it a name, all traffic signals. And then we're going to do a group. I already have traffic signals as a group, but we're going to do this traffic signals 2 so we can duplicate. And I'm going to save that, and you'll notice now I have another group here called traffic signals 2, all traffic signals, and I have access to all of that, all that information. That may not be very helpful because I've already got that. So the next report that we want to do is we want to look at trying to do the Man of War signals. Actually, let's do a different one. Let's do one that's a little easier. Let's find signals using fiber. So I want all the signals that actually use fiber. Now, one of the tools that I like to do in this, if we're going to build a custom report, is I have a query tool in which I can test this out. So if you remember, my template is select star from, I have a parentheses, in parentheses, MSQRY. And what I need to do is put my custom statement inside those brackets. So what we have, and over here, this gives me a little bit of a clue into my workflow. I can get a list of the columns that are associated with traffic signals. So what I wanted to do is I want to do a custom report that's going to show me all of the traffic signals that have a communication method that is fiber. So what we do is we use this statement, select star from, and we're going to use our report traffic signals where, and the column that we're looking for is communication method, where communication method is equal to, we have to put a single quote in the name, which I'm going to put fiber, end quote. Now I can test that by clicking this button and make sure that that's working. And I can see here that I have only fiber is showing up in my list. So this was successful. Copy this report, copy this statement, copy it, go back to my views and reports, and we're going to add a new report. Add report, and then in the view, we just paste this statement back into here. So we put this statement in. Description, this is signals with fiber communication. And then the group is going to be traffic signals 2. And now if we come back and look at this, we now have another report. It's called signals with fiber communication. So we've created a separate another custom report here. So let's look what other custom reports we had in place. So let's go back now and see if we can duplicate the report for man of war signals. And I'm going to go back and look. Let's look at all of our traffic signals for just a minute. If we wanted to find all of the man of war traffic signals, we need to find that based on this intersection column. If you kind of look in here, you'll see Man of War Boulevard. In some cases, though, this intersection might be listed on the other side. It may not always be at the front of this list. So if we wanted to select that out, we need to match this field to any match in this column that says Man of War. Then I want to include that as one of my Man of War signals. So here you get an example of Man of War, but in this case we have Man of War over into the string itself. So knowing the type of data that I have, then I need to come back and create a new statement. And we can start with this one we just finished. Let's do select star from report traffic signals. In this case, I want to use a different column. I'm going to use this intersection. I have to spell it correctly. We'll do enter, and then equal won't work because I'm looking for everything that has Man of War in it. So I'm going to use a structured query language. It has another operator called like. So I'm going to use intersection like. I'm going to use a single quote, a %, type man war, and then we're going to put another % and end with a quote. Now what that does is that gives me kind of a wild card. This statement tells me that I want to select from the intersection column. I want to select any place that it finds Man of War in that string. If the intersection column contains Man of War, then I want to select it, and that's how we would set this up to do that query. Let's test that. And what we have is we open that up. Now we only have traffic signals that are located at Man of War Boulevard and some other street. So we've filtered that down. That could be really helpful for us to zero in. Now on these where statements, we could continue to add more of those if we wanted to make it more sophisticated. So let's go ahead and copy our statement. We'll come back to our views and reports, and we're going to add a new report, paste that information from here. Description is man war signals, and we'll add this group to our traffic signals too and click OK. And now we've created a new report called man of war signals, and we have that available in place. So let's take a look at another type of report. I want to look at the one based on last inspection, and we said this was a special type of report because it included record date at the front of this, and that meant that we can actually do a date search against record date. And record date for this particular view is based on the last inspection that we did. So what we do here then is we're gonna again go over to our query tool, and we're gonna create a new report. And let's go ahead. We can start with this one, and we can modify that. So in this case, if I want to do that, I've got to make sure that I have a report date as the first column. So I'm going to say select last inspection at report date, and in column I'm going to use the asterisk from here. And this is what this is going to do. This is going to let me let's look at our columns again. We're going to use last. I misspelled that, so I need to make sure I correct that. We're going to use last inspection. I'm going to select last inspection. I want it labeled as report date, and then I use this asterisk to say I want all the rest of the data to go with it from report traffic signals. And I don't really want to filter that because I want all of I want all the traffic signals information, but I want to be able to filter it based on the last inspection date. We'll copy this query. Well, let's test that first. That did not work. Let me go back to my views here and make sure that here. Let me make sure that I had that formatting correct. All right. So I had something typed in wrong. So here's this. Let's look at this again. This is our statement. Select last inspection as record date, and I want to include all of the rest of the columns. And then I'm going to do that from my report, my standard report. I'm going to copy this. We'll go back to views, and we're going to come in and add a new report and paste this information in. The description for this is going to be signal by last inspection. And then the group is going to be traffic signals 2. We've added a new report. So let's look at that. Signals by last inspection. And notice we have record date as the first column. And now for this particular selection, I can filter this based on date. Notice some of these dates are in February. If I change this to January, let's change that again. So let's say from January 1 to January 30th, I have no signals that were inspected. If I change this date though back to say March 30th, now I have January 1st. Now we have a total of 80 inspections, and I can filter my inspections based on that. That date. Let's go back and see the other type of report that we have is a summary report, and we'll give you an example of that. So in this case, we had signal count by communication method. So in this case, I want to go through and count up how many signals would match up to each one of these communication methods. So what we had here is we have a communication method fiber, and I have 240 of those signals. I also have five signals that don't have any communication method entered at all, which would be an editing issue for me to know that I need to have something in that column. But if we want to construct that, then we go again back to our query tool, and then we'll set up a new statement from here. So we can still use the same statement we were using before, but we're going to change this around a little bit. What we want to do is we want to select our communication method, and then another SQL statement or syntax, we want to do count, and we're going to use the GSID column. So let's look again what that might look like. View, let's go to traffic signals. GSID is a column that's not listed over here, but it's a column that all workflows have, and it's just a counting column. It's an integer, or it's a number that counts all the different records. So if we want to basically count up the numbers, this is the best way to do that. We have select communication method and count all of the records that match up to communication, and then we have to add here at the bottom to tell for it to group by communication method. So let's test that and see what we get. Okay. I also have to do one other thing there. I got count GSID. I have to give the column a name. We'll call that count, and we'll see what we get. So this statement produces this type of report. Communication method, which is grouped, and then it groups and it counts each one of these, the total that's there. So what it did is it went through and took all the records in my signals. It grouped them by fiber, phone line, and then it counted those and reported back to me how many I had in each one of those categories. So let's copy this statement. And then we can come to here, add a report. And what we'll do is we'll do signal, we'll paste our statement in, signal count by com method. And then we'll group those into traffic signals too and save. And now we have a new report, communication method. That's a pretty good example of the different signals that we have. If we look at some of these others we have where we did signal line using phone lines, then this statement is very similar to fiber. So signals with fiber communication, if we wanted to change this, we could very easily edit this report, copy this information, and then we'll add a new report. And we want to change this to not fiber, but we want to do phone line. We can always pull this over into our query tool to test it. That's not a bad thing, but this is pretty safe. So then I'm going to do signals by phone line communication. And we'll put that in traffic signals too. And now we have a new report. And now we open up, now we've only got those filtered by phone line. I do want to show you, so in this case, we're actually, on the view, we modify this based on the actual statement. We can also save these statements into text files, and that can be helpful in terms of organization and moving those files around, maybe from one computer to another. Sometimes it's helpful to do that. Or you could ask someone else to write the statement for you that knows a little more about query language and then provide you a file. So let's take a look at how that might work. If we came back to our query tool And let's look at our custom report, or our report that we did where we do the, again, where we did this group by, or we did this summary report, if you will. I could also come in and save that report. We have a save user report. I could call this as summary report on communication method. Save that, and that will actually save a text file that I can use for my report. So let's go back here, look at if we were to create a new report. We also, once I save that, I have this text file that now becomes available for me to work with. I could pick the text file, and again, we could call this summary on communication, or summary by communication, and group that in traffic signals 2, and summary by communication, we get the same report. But in this case, if I go back to edit that, instead of having that SQL statement, I have a text file that's been saved. So you've got, those are the options that you have associated with creating the reports. The report information is saved on your desktop computer, or so it's always available for manager. If we were to close out a dashboard and reopen that, then our user reports would still be there. So it's going to save that information. It's very easy to transfer this and set these same reports up on other computers that are running the desktop software just by copying over a number of files. If we want to see where those files are saved from the dashboard, we can come to our open project folder, and if you're looking at this particular view, you're in the project. This is your account folder. Open the account folder, and you will see the dashboard custom report is in this dashboard report list.go.txt. If you copy that file to the proper folder on another computer, then the dashboard will populate with those custom reports. These are your text files. If you produce text files and you wanted to transfer those, then you would need to copy the text files along with that. So let's open up this summary text file so we can see, and all it contains, it just has the statement in it. The selection statement is stored in the text file. That's all that's there, and it gives us a name that we can use to find and manage. So that completes our review of how to create a custom report in GeoSync Go and some of the tools associated with that. It's a powerful tool. We've just scratched the surface in terms of the sophistication of the reports. Largely, if you can also do calculated values is another item. So if you needed to do calculations such as, say, the cost of a piece of property, you have the area, and you want to assign some sort of cost per acre and have another column that would produce that in your report, then you can also use the SQL language to produce those custom fields. So that ends our webinar on dashboard custom reports. Thanks for attending today.